19 meters high is this looping here, and it's the setting for a stunt for the all-new Jaguar F-PACE, the first Jaguar SUV. And Terry Grant, the famous stunt driver who was usually doing some donut stuff, very spectacular Guinness World Records, actually, he will try to do this and go about 90 kilometers an hour and go through this looping. Will almost come to a stop at the top side, only 15 kilometers there at the top side. Will this actually work? Well, at the moment it's quite wet here, and we'll see if this is taking place so far. We are very excited if this takes place. And it's also, of course, a high risk for Jaguar, because if this stunt is failing, it's absolute disaster for PR and marketing, of course. But if it works, it's of course great pictures, and it will be a very spectacular event, and we'll hope everything will go fine and we get a very good shot in here. Wow, so that went well, and actually it looked really slow, and it was approaching the looping at the very top. So no matter if 15 miles or 15 kilometers, I think it was 15 miles an hour at the top of the looping, so very slow there. But all worked out great, although we had very wet conditions here. And now we'll have some interviews and we'll take a detailed look at the car. Now we'll take a look at the exterior of the all-new Jaguar F-PACE, and well, my first impression is I really love the vehicle, and I couldn't even imagine driving one myself, because, you know, I'm usually already quite a fancy of Jaguar models from design especially, and I think it's one of the most beautiful SUVs right now. That's for sure, at least to me. But what about your opinion on that one? I want to see it on the comments. You see, we got this huge Jaguar front grille here in the shiny black version, because it's the S version with the 3-liter petrol engine, the petrol turbo engine. And it will also be available with the Jaguar diesels, for example, with the 2-liter diesels with 180 horsepower. And you will also have the 3-liter diesel, that's for sure. In this case, as I said, the very strong engine from the F-Type here, the V6 compressor. So what we can also see is that this huge front grille has this chrome inlet here, which makes it even stronger. And the whole front, you see, it really resembles the rest of the Jaguar family. So you can really say, okay, mate, it's like a hybrid sedan, at least from the outside here, from the front. So not a real standalone model as from design from the front, but I think that's also what they intended to do, keep a throughout design through a model family, what all manufacturers do meanwhile. So what's your opinion here on the front? By the way, the headlights also kind of the same, or a little bit like in the other models now, but it's a little bit special that from the sedans, because we got some kind of another hop in here. So it's also an interesting detail here that it's got this kind of twinkling eye. So the side profile, that's actually what defines this Jaguar from other Jaguars, because it is really completely different than from the sedans, because it doesn't drop down in the back end. And I think what they have done is they should actually differentiate from the off-road look from the Land Rover because, well, this car does have off-road capabilities because they're using the Land Rover technologies as well for that one. But it is more stressed on the sporty side, and then we see that it's kind of the tension we have inside the car because the dropping line here is kind of quite high. Door's not really closed, now it's closed. And then you see this tension goes on to the rear and got this very strong shoulders here. And we'll hear more about that very soon from Callum, the head designer of Jaguar, and I'm really looking forward to talk to him because that one is, well, his newest masterpiece in here, and this was a special challenge to design an SUV because it hasn't never been before with Jaguar. It was also quite interesting that we got those huge alloys here, maximum wheel 22, exactly these ones here with a special editions one, I mean 22-inch alloys. These are really huge. I wouldn't pick them myself because you easily scratch them. However, with an SUV you still got more tire left than with other sedans. So I also want to hear your opinion here on the side profile. Now let's continue to the rear. And now a short look at the rear, and what we can see here is some resemblance from the F-Type because we see really this influenced by the sports cars, and originally this rear light design, the taillight design, is from the E-Type then. However, a little bit smaller here because the other ones continue a little bit further here, but as we also know from other SUVs, the light already begins at the side. That's also quite an interesting design factor. F-PACE here, the name. I'm not personally very satisfied with the name. I would have expected something differently, maybe. And you know, if you speak it out in French, it's F-PACE. It almost sounds like Espace, like the Renault Espace. So I'm not really satisfied with the name, but the car itself is very beautiful. And as I said, also from the rear, one of the most beautiful SUVs so far. Or what's your opinion on that one? And the most important is the big Jaguar logo here, the Jaguar Leaper. This is the Leaper. In the front is over the Crawler, and in the back the Leaper. And now we're here with head designer of Jaguar, Callum, and actually he's famous that he also checks out the design where the car look from above. So was that actually the initial plan, to see the car here from above today?
That wasn't my initial plan, but it was quite fascinating watching it. But at that point when I was looking at it, I was more concerned about the dynamics than the aesthetics, I have to tell you. But we did fine, it was okay. But the plan view of a car is very important, you know, and the plan view of this car is actually quite exciting because it gives you movement. And what that movement does, it translates into form when you look at it from the normal view. And you can always tell when a car has got excitement because you know when you look down in it, it's got a lot of form in it, and it really does work. So yeah, plan view is very important, and this car's got a lot of plan view.
I know that you are very emotional when it comes to sports cars and designing them. So how was it different to design an SUV now?
It was very challenging because, you know, sports cars are all a bit low roofs, and, you know, we're not always probably the greatest people for putting great big packages in a car. We like to keep things small and tight. So this was very challenging. It's all about height. But what I said to the design team, what we've got to do with this car is capture the emotion of a Jaguar and keep it as a Jaguar, but put it into the dimensions of a crossover SUV. But the car we used as an influence was the F-Type. We said, let's capture some of the F-Type feeling in this car, albeit a different dimension, and create something that feels very svelte, and the lines are very easy to look at, and they're not rigid, they're not boxy. There's something that's got a beautiful elegance about them. And if you combine all that with some discipline, you can create something quite interesting and special. And I think with this car here, with the lines and the proportions, which are also very important, is to get the stance of the car right. We've got basically a rear-wheel drive configuration. It's all-wheel drive, but rear-wheel drive configuration, so north-south engine. The wheels are right at the front, and that in itself is a very exciting thing to do with the proportions of any car. And that was something I insisted on when we were designing the car, because we could create something that from 200 meters, you want to look at it. So the combination of using the influence of the F-Type and really manipulating the proportions of this car with the wheelbase and the track and the body to wheel relationship, we knew we could create something which looked extremely exciting, and it looked like a driver's car, and that was so important for me.
I once heard the rumor actually that someone asked you, oh, I'm too tall for the F-Type. The F-Type is for small people. And it was said that you answer, okay, just buy Range Rover Sport. So would you answer now? First of all, is it true that you said? And would you answer now by an F-PACE?
I did say that. I said, well, if you don't like the F-Type, it's too small. If you buy a Range Rover Sport, that's fine by me. I don't mind. But now I'd probably say to them, buy an F-PACE, because there's plenty of room inside one of these.
So I'll take a test seat here for the first time in the new Jaguar F-PACE, and I'm very excited how the quality will play out. This is a special edition, a special lounge edition model here, and yeah, I will just feel and see how everything is processed. And actually the first impression is quite good. You know, with the Jaguar XE we were not quite satisfied with the first interior impression, but here everything looks kind of clean, also from the surfaces here. We also got full digital instruments, I've already shown you in the shots, and also a completely new infotainment system in the middle of the car, and that looks very well integrated. It's very kind of this widescreen aligned here, and I actually like that. Also just from the buttons here, that's very interesting, by the way. Just listen to the buttons. It's a new sound of the button here, and I think that has been a lot improved here also if you see, for example, the all-new Jaguar XE. So the first impression is indeed very promising here. Also, if I check out how the gaps are processed here, everything feels and looks very well, even though, you know, these are the first vehicles here and usually they are just pre-production and have some flaws which will be then not seen anymore in the serial production cars later on. But already for this pre-production car here, I think they have done a quite good job. Well, you know, these shiny black elements, they will get dirty quite soon, but you know, as long as they are clean, they also look quite fancy than here. By the way, the seating is, well, very comfortable, and definitely more comfortable than in a sedan, because in a sedan you sit way lower. Does it feel like a more sporty or more this off-road SUV? I think it's something in between. You're not sitting too low, I think, because if I want to buy an SUV, I really want to have this SUV feeling, definitely. And you do have that here. Also, the seat is long enough for taller people, so I actually would feel quite comfortable here. Does it remind you a little bit of a Land Rover? Well, at the first sight, maybe a little bit, because we have some similarities. Of course, they also share some technology and maybe also the drive selector that some Land Rovers and Jaguar are using. And of course, this new all-aluminum architecture, it's supposed to make the car very light, so we're also looking forward to drive the car for the first time then, but that will take some time then. The first general impression, I think here, just from the interior, is also very good. However, this is really now the high-class trim level here as well, because it's the special edition lounge model and then everything is full of it. The car, for example, in Germany will start at 43,000 euros, but this one here, as it stands here right now, with all the equipment, we easily get above 60,000 euros. So let me get in the rear. So, and you also have a kind of upright seating position here in the rear, also in comparison to a sedan. Headroom, we do have a panoramic roof. I still have something placed here above my head, so that's also quite fine here. Also an advantage in comparison to a sedan. The size is approximately the one of a BMW X3, so a really compact SUV size, not a small compact SUV, also enough knee space. So this will also be a family suitable Jaguar, and that was also one of the aims when building this car here now, because, you know, a typical sedan is not always the best choice for the family then, and also, for example, an estate is not offered everywhere already with the previous Jaguar XF version. So, but here with an SUV, You also got a more handy trunk, then that should be easily feasible then. The seating area is a little bit short here in the rear. That's for a tall person, maybe not that best one. I'll lay back a little bit here. So that could be a little bit steeper here in the back, but you can also, no, you can't adjust. You can just flip the whole seating area. That is actually possible. I can also show you that from a trunk. Here as well, by the way, we have temperature here as 3 or even 4 zone climate control. The control actually feels quite good. And also this new clicking sound from the buttons, I really like that. So it is actually promising what Jaguar offers us here with the new interior styling. Full animal skin seat equipment here, however now included here. You know, I wouldn't go for it because it makes no sense, even if it looks quite fancy. But of course the basic versions will also offer you some other surfaces for that. And speaking about families, let's take a look inside. And you see a high-class build here as well. It's, well, kind of prone to scratches, but it looks really fancy. And we can see it here. I think a lot of space has been used, not too much reduced due to the design. Also what we feel from the materials here on the surface. Full spare tire, by the way, here. I think this is really a Jaguar you can use very well. For example, also the details here, you can just easily flip the seats. Just turn that one here. And then it's possible to push the rear bench. Doesn't go automatically now because you just need to help from them. But that can actually be from pre-production, that it doesn't flip actually all the way in the front. But I can turn it, I can see what is the maximum space you can really get from this car, and that will be very interesting. You can see it right here, 2/3, 1/3 split, and there it is. And well, maybe even some bicycles in here, I'm not sure. But at least you stay flexible here. And you can't say that about Jaguar sports cars or the sedans. And well, I think this is also one of the main factors, because now with this car, a whole new customer group can be reached. Of course, maybe also some Land Rover customers will change, but there will be surely a lot of people who say, okay, I just want to buy an SUV and I couldn't buy Jaguar now. Or maybe even existing Jaguar customers who search more comfort or also more flexibility, especially on the interior. And now we'll conclude this day as it started with the stunt driver, with Terry Grant, and I'm very happy to be here with you. So you have answered so many questions now, so just to make it a little bit more exciting for you, I'll ask you something very different. Is it harder for you to answer all the questions here than doing the stunt?
Believe it or not, it is. Yeah, it's, yeah, I must have a Guinness World Record for answering as many questions as I've answered and done so many interviews. I mean, but fantastic. That's amazing. It's amazing that so many people have come out to see this and be part of it. And, you know, to launch a brand new car for Jaguar the way that we've done it tonight is just spectacular. It's amazing. And honestly, I'm very proud of Jaguar letting me be part of it.
What do you think actually when you're just facing the ramp? What's your motivation? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, sure. So the motivation tonight was I didn't want to let anybody down. It's a massive team effort for this. So, you know, this I'm taking the glory at the moment, but there's 200 people that deserve all the glory for doing this. So that was a big motivation. I wasn't going to let anybody down. And as far as me, I was dead calm in the car. I kind of knew what I had to do. I just concentrated. It's part of my job. If I'm not like that, then I shouldn't be doing the job that I'm doing. So honestly, I was really calm. The engineer was talking to me on the headset in my crash helmet, and he was way more nervous than I was. He was meant to be calming me down, but I was cool, so I had to calm him down.
So tell us, how dangerous was it really today? Because, you know, when people see from outside, oh, the stunt worked, and they say, okay, that's kind of it. But I mean, how much danger was really involved, and how many factors could have gone wrong?
Yeah, of course, it's dangerous. It's, you know, it's a live performance in front of people, and I'm upside down in a car that I enter the ramp at or enter the loop at 54, 55 miles an hour, and it's a 6.5 G hit when I hit. But then when I'm completely upside down, I'm only doing 15 miles an hour, and the tyres are just coming off of the surface. So I'm nearly...
The tyres come off from the surface?
Yeah, they're just, it's 0 G, and they're just breaking traction, so it's just getting ready to fall off. And that's at nearly 7 stories high. you see that there's a contraption of ropes in the middle. That's really just to protect you guys. It's not to stop me falling. So potentially, if everything went wrong, then I could have fell straight on my roof from 7 stories high, upside down in a car. I didn't, as you guys all saw. So yes, you know, it's a Guinness World Record for a reason. So yes, mega to be part of, and I feel really proud that I'm standing here talking to you now.
So was it the craziest thing you've ever done, or were you more afraid of other things you've done so far?
Yeah, obviously the fear factor, I had to get rid of it very, very quickly. So I just had to concentrate. But like I say, I'm so proud to do this one because it's so spectacular.
So I think you'll have a special connection to this car, maybe until the rest of your life, probably. So will you drive F-PACE on your own, or what's your plan on that?
Yeah, sure. Obviously, you know, I'm part of the Jaguar family now, and they've welcomed me with open arms and allowed me to do this. So there's many things coming in the future. So of course, Jaguar's a big part of my life now.
And your next stunt? Maybe something you can tell us?
Yeah, no, you'll have to come back and see.
Okay, thank you very much, and also thank you guys for watching Autogefühl today, this episode. Conclusion with Terry Grant, and I hope to see you at the next special Autogefühl episode.